أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Seeing that we've spoken about the significance of Islam, we've spoken about how important it is to look at the different factions and groups and sects in Islam, we now come across understanding that with Islam being a religion, Islam being a comprehensive religion, Islam being a religion that looks at all of the affairs of a Muslim, Islam making the claim that it is the most complete, the most perfect of all religions, one thing that it needs to have is a system of law. We did mention that as human beings, we live in a society, we live in a world that each one looks for their own interests. And at times this could create some kind of conflict. Now with conflict, it leads to many disasters if not regulated or controlled. And that's why having law is very important. Rules and regulations are very important, because it regulates a person's interaction with other people, making sure that the rights of others are observed. The Islamic approach to this is that as far as laws are concerned, as far as regulating rights are concerned, not limiting but regulating rights are concerned, they're not only in relation to other fellow human beings on this earth, they are also rights or regulation of rules and laws in regards to a person's relationship with Almighty God. And not only that, a person's relationship with oneself. And this is why Islam says that you have issues that you need to deal with as far as you and God are concerned, as far as you and yourself are concerned, and as far as you and others are concerned. Now, who best is there who is able to present a comprehensive system of laws and rules and regulations that will govern the human being living on this earth and cater to these three dimensions? Who best other than the Creator Himself, Almighty God? This in Islam is called the Sharia. Why is it so important for us to mention such a thing here? Of course, is because in today's contemporary world, we can see that the word Sharia has been so negatively used, it's created a stereotype where when someone hears the word Sharia law, the first thing that comes to their mind is not this kind of very brief, quick, simple, basic explanation that I just gave, but chopping off of people's hands, stoning to death, and any other kind of, violent aspect of the Sharia, which, bear in mind, is a very, very small, short percentage, small portion of Sharia itself. Because Sharia governs many, many different dimensions as far as Islam as a religion is concerned. When it does come to something like the penal code in Islam, whether that be capital punishment or whether that be any kind of facing of accountability for a person's actions is concerned, then that is, again, very small in comparison to everything else that the Sharia represents. And the Sharia itself is also something different to fiqh and ahkam. Sharia is something looked at in its entirety, whereas something like fiqh is concerned, it's looked at in its detail, individual circumstances based on many, many issues like its relation to zaman and makan and everything else, which is exactly why in the realm of jurisprudence and Islamic law, it's very, very dynamic. And that's again one of the beauties of Islam. And if we were to take the Shia outlook on this, the concept of ijtihad is very important in the role that it plays as far as the implementing of laws are concerned. No government outside of a purely Islamic theocratic government wishes to implement all aspects of Sharia law. And there is no Muslim that wants to implement every single aspect of Sharia law within the limitations of them living in certain countries, whether they be a Muslim-based country, not Islamic, Muslim-based country, or anywhere else. And that's why it's very important to distinguish between those small groups that pop up every once in a while who wish to promote what they define as Sharia law, even though the overwhelming majority of Muslims do not believe that to be truly, genuinely representing the Sharia law, and what every other normal, average, everyday Muslim believes in. And so, when one wants to define what Sharia law is, it's very important to be very, very truthful and it not being influenced by, unfortunately, today's mainstream media. So, with the reality of Sharia and with the dynamics of jurisprudence, many, many positive outcomes occur. It's a part of the Sharia for one to acknowledge and respect and honor the country that they live in. It's a part of the Sharia law for them to treat their neighbor in the best way possible. It's a part of the Sharia law for them to avoid any kind of bloodshed of innocent people. It's a part of the Sharia law to respect and follow the law of the country that one lives in. This is all a part of the Sharia law. Why are we only focusing on maybe some of the certain elements of Sharia law that are there only for certain circumstances, undergo many, many, many conditions? The contemporary outlook with Sharia law is that it might not be in certain areas, especially when it comes to gender-related issues, and we're not going to talk about gender-related issues now because we have a segment exclusively for that, but certain gender-related issues might not be in conformity with today's society, like for example hijab, or like for example a female receiving half of the inheritance of a male, or any other what they see to be kind of limitations for women. And another issue that is contemporary and needs to be looked into as far as the Sharia law and fiqh and jurisprudence and things like that are concerned is the understanding of Islamic law as far as whether it is in line with or coherent with the society that we live in today. Does Islam fit into today's modern society? And that's where it's very important to look into the concept of zaman and makan and its relation to Sharia law and jurisprudence. Zaman meaning time, makan meaning place. So if there is something that has been mentioned in the Holy Quran or in the authentic Sunnah of Ahlul Bayt, and it's to do with the system of rules and regulations and law, Islamic law, then is time and place to be taken into consideration. This is a very, very important topic, a very important issue that needs to be discussed, that has been discussed by our ulama, and also looked at from a contemporary angle. This being said, when it does come to looking at the issue of how we are able to cater to these discussions that are being presented as far as contemporary issues are concerned, like Islam and human rights. What is human right? What are the human rights that can be mentioned as far as Islam and minorities are concerned, or Islam and equal rights, or all of these other things that are also a part of this whole topic of contemporary Islamic theology? And where does the Sharia law fit into this area? This is why it's a very, very important topic, and inshallah we will be sharing some material for you, the participant, to be able to look into. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi tahirin.